Welcome to Tampa Bay Business Connections, where we're bringing awareness to organizations and added value to members. I am your host, Claire Rose. So today we have some guests from the West Pasco Pinellas Business Association here in Pasco. And our first guest today's name is Jack Koch. Are you with me, Jack?
I am. Good morning, Claire.
Good morning. So we're all just
or afternoon or whatever it is.
Oh, it is afternoon. We're embracing all of the technical stuff that comes along with not being able to gather together, right?
Yep, it's been an interesting couple of weeks adjusting.
It has been interesting. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. I'd love to get some information about you and your company.
Sure.
Okay, first of all, tell us about your company.
So I am the owner of an independent franchise, Journeys by Jack, which is affiliated with Dream Vacations. So I actually own my own business and march to the beat of my own drum. Nice. Working with Dream Vacations, I am actually a full-service travel advisor. We prefer to use the term advisor over agent. When people think of travel agent, they tend to think back to the 70s and 80s, having to go to a brick and mortar agency to actually get stock airline tickets printed and things like that. Obviously, those days are by and large dead and gone with the advent of the internet and all of the various booking systems that different travel companies use. So working with Dream Vacations, I assist people in booking travel everywhere, all types of travel, whether it floats or flies. We do cruise vacations, all-inclusive vacations, destination weddings, you name it. Basically, if it involves you sleeping someplace other than your own bed tonight, we have partners and providers to help put it together, whatever, wherever in the world it may be.
Wow. I love that. If you're not sleeping in your own bed, right? I can help you if you're going to sleep somewhere other than your own bed tonight. That's awesome. That's a great little tag there. So tell us how you got started in this. This is interesting.
So I was actually born into the travel industry as much as somebody can be. I grew up in a tiny little town in northern Michigan where my family owned a hotel. So I spent the first 14 or so years of my life there, growing up at the hotel, traveling with my parents to, all the hotel convention shows and stuff. We owned a Best Western, so we went to all the annual Best Western franchise meetings and stuff. Hosted a lot of different tour companies at our hotel. The area of Michigan was very popular for ecological tours, for like fall color tours, lake cruises, scuba diving, snowmobiling in the winter, stuff like that. So hosted a lot of different groups at our hotel that I got involved with. Working with those groups, I'd take them out on some of the tours around the area, show them some of the sites, things like that. And with that, growing up at a hotel, being tied into travel, we traveled a lot as a family. So as a kid, I had opportunities a lot of kids in my rural community in northern Michigan didn't have, and got to go, travel around Europe, fly down to the Caribbean and stay in places like San Juan and Aruba. And of course, lots of forays over to the border up into Canada and all kinds of different places. So I grew up with travel. And then I joined the Army and left, and have done a bunch of things in between trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up. I went to Bible college and got a degree in Bible studies. I was an ordained minister for a short time. Then I went to law school, and the number one thing I learned in law school was I really did not want to be an attorney. So the number two thing people do with a law degree if they don't practice law is go be an entrepreneur. And we've all heard the phrase, do what you love, you never work a day in your life. And I have always loved travel. I've always been the one in the family who has been planning the trips, doing all the logistics, doing all the background work, putting things together for people. So a couple of years ago, I made the decision to purchase my own franchise and launch out into the travel world. And here I am today.
Wow. So if I need any legal advice about travel, I'm calling you, right?
I'm not a licensed attorney. I can't give you legal advice. But I will give you lots of good advice.
Lots of good advice. And surely you're looking at things from a legal perspective as well. You can't
There are a lot of issues, especially in recent weeks, a lot of issues that have come up with, travel insurance policies and what is or isn't covered.
Right.
Cancellation policies with cruise lines and what their contracts say. We've had a lot of situations that kind of fall outside the box of what anybody ever expected they would have to deal with. So there's been a lot of working on the fly with within the industry for as people are adjusting policies and trying to make changes. So being able to keep up with that, the legal education has been a huge help. Being able
Has been helpful.
to
Yeah.
digest the stuff as it flies out and keep up with the CDC recommendations and stuff. And
so it's been frustrating. We've experienced it ourselves. Frustrating to, you've paid for something and you can't go, but your insurance doesn't cover you getting to cancel or reschedule. And that's frustrating as a consumer for sure.
It's been frustrating for everybody all around.
I'm sure. And you're hearing from people all the time, I'm sure, about it at this point. So
yeah, we had quite a couple of busy weeks there. We just got the last couple of days, there has been another round of cancellations announced. The CDC updated their guidelines for cruises. So several of the lines have pushed their cruise cancellation schedule further out. One has even gone so far. Princess and Holland America have canceled their entire season of Alaskan cruise tours. So there's been a lot of that going on.
Yeah.
But interestingly, on the backside of that, there's been a lot of positive going on. When we look forward to 2021, the industry is actually outpacing itself by between 9 and 10% in terms of new business, because what is happening, a lot of these cruise lines and other vacation providers, obviously they need cash on hand to manage their business and get through this time. So they are getting really aggressive with travel credits. We've had Norwegian Cruise Line was the biggest one that I saw. People who were on affected cruises, they offered as much as 150% of the value of their cruise in future credit, plus a 20% discount off of other cruises.
Wow.
So a lot of people have been taking advantage of that to say, okay, spring break was shot this year. Let's start looking at Thanksgiving, Christmas, spring break, and summer next year, and do something even bigger and better next year. So we're working a lot of longer term future business right now, and the summer is what it is, and it'll come back when it comes back, and we'll be here and ready to go when it happens.
Right. Wow. That clever of them, absolutely. So I just want to learn a little bit more about you before we get too much time gone by. Why did you choose Dream Vacations? Because this was a franchise choice that you made.
Yes. So I spent quite a bit of time looking at different options in the travel industry. There's quite a few different franchise groups out there, plus a lot of opportunity to go completely independent. I landed with Dream Vacations for a couple of reasons. One was their support for veterans. They have an incredible program for veterans who are interested in starting their own business, with some incentives for purchasing a franchise with them and going through training. So that was nice to be able to take advantage of. But the bigger draw for me, Dream Vacations is part of a larger consortium called World Travel Holdings. World Travel Holdings, as a corporate family, is the single largest booker of cruise cabins worldwide. Now, cruises aren't all we do. Like I said, I do all-inclusive vacations. I do destination weddings. I do domestic travel and tours and bus coach trips, all that kind of stuff. But I love cruising. It's my favorite mode of vacation and my family's favorite mode. So to have that kind of power behind us as a family, as a corporate family, they have a lot of great support from the cruise lines, access to a lot of exclusive deals with the cruise lines and some of these other big vacation providers like Apple Vacations and GoGo and things like that. Nice. So just was a great, solid, powerful brand to be a part of. And then the support that I have gotten from them in building my business has been absolutely phenomenal, with the access to their business development team and marketing programs and all of that stuff. They're a really, really solid company to work with. And
that's so important when you're an independent, that you have those. I mean, that's why you buy a franchise, right? So that you have the systems and the support in place to help you, so you're not figuring it out as you go on your own, right?
Yep.
So you're an independent agent. And so what is the benefit or the value to me, the consumer, of using an independent agent like yourself?
So there's a few different things that we bring to the table. The first, a lot of people don't realize now, I'm speaking for myself, every agent handles their business their own way.
Sure.
But in my particular case, 99% of the clients that I work with, they pay nothing extra for working with me. Okay. If you were to call the cruise line today and try to book a cruise, or call a resort in Jamaica and book a resort stay, whatever prices they have available, I'm always able to get those same prices. I'm often able to get better prices or some additional perks from our company. Okay. based on different block space that we hold and in places and things like that. The rare circumstances where I do charge a fee is if I'm taking on something that's going to be a large logistical task. If I'm taking on a destination wedding where I've got family flying in from 10 different states to a
Right.
resort in Jamaica. I'll charge an upfront fee because of all the work required to plan all of that. But when I do charge an upfront fee, I always give it back at the end once the trip goes off. I either credit it back against their final payment or as resort credit or credit for their anniversary trip the next year or something like that. Another big benefit that we have seen here recently, I work for all of my clients. I don't work for any one particular cruise line resort provider. So when people call me and they say, hey, here's a great example of client, one of my best clients that I picked up a while ago, their Royal Caribbean cruise canceled. And they called me and said, our Royal Caribbean cruise that was supposed to leave this Saturday, canceled. The ship was in dry dock, got damaged, can't sail. We need an option. We've got the time off. We want to go. I was able to put them on a different cruise line. They had an absolutely fantastic time. I wasn't married to Royal Caribbean.
Nice.
They could, work with me and go anywhere else. So I'm not married to any provider. I will put together the package with the provider that fits the client, whether they want luxury or, basic camp style necessities or anything in between. And then what we have really seen in this pandemic, when the first wave of cancellations started, there was a lot of frustration with Costco, as an example. People who had travel booked with Costco, they were calling Costco and spending 7.5, 8 hours on hold trying to talk to somebody at Costco to deal with their plans. None of my clients had that experience. They send me a text message, they send me an email. Sometimes they do it at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I get up, I get it, I work on it, I let them know when it's done.
Wow.
None of that stress or frustration was theirs. It was all mine, and I'm the one who sat on hold for hours and dealt with all the constantly changing rules, and I let them know when it was done and what their options were and where they want to go next.
Very nice. We could have probably used that. When our whole time was going to be 19 hours, we didn't bother. So we just ate it. It's like, okay, we're not going to sit on hold for 19 hours. Nobody's going to sit on hold for 19 hours. They're just not going to. They're just going to eat the cost of it, and we did. So we are just about out of time, but I wanted to just touch really the basics of the travel situation with COVID-19 right now before we run out of time. Do you have some information you can give us about that?
Yeah. So the best information is it's constantly changing. Like I mentioned earlier, the
Sure.
CDC has issued their 100-day guidance. So most of the lines have pushed sailings back to the end of June at the earliest. Travel Europe internationally is still a very touchy situation. So my best advice for people right now is lots of people are still planning travel. Just plan ahead. Cruises, you can book 18 to 24 months in advance. Anything that requires airfare, you can book 330 days out. So don't just limit yourself to looking at what you wanted to do this summer. Like I said, start thinking about Thanksgiving, Christmas, next spring break, next summer,
Plan ahead.
and start making some plans and give yourself something to look forward to.
Great advice. Great advice. Just get over it. You can't travel right now, right? Just move on. Well, thank you so much for coming and spending some time with us. I appreciate the information. I know our viewers have had lots of questions about that, the travel situation right now. If they need some more information, how's the best way for them to get you?
www.journeysbyjack.com. My phone number is on there. My email is on there. You can call me, text me, email me, whatever works best. I respond to all of it.
Carrier pigeon, anything. Yeah, right.
That'll work.
Okay, we are out of time. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your
having
time.
me.
It was our pleasure. Welcome back to Tampa Bay Business Connections. Our next guest is joining us from AMS Computers. Are you there, Adam?
I'm here.
I hear you, but I don't see your face. There you are.
There I am.
There you are. Welcome. Thank you so much for taking some time to join us today and talk about your business.
Hi, good, thank you.
So first of all, introduce yourself, your business, and what it is that you have to offer.
I'm Adam with AMS Computers. We provide computer repair solutions, both PCs and Macs. We also do on-site IT services for most small businesses and residential also.
Okay. So that was quick. Right? Anything computer related?
Pretty much anything computer related, from selling computers, data transfers,
Okay.
home network setups, server setups, custom built computers. If you're working from home, we can take care of those kind of solutions for you. If
Okay.
you're needing remote services, if you don't want to come into our offices, we have solutions where we can remote into your computers and take care of any kind of issues with them, including PCs or Macs.
So with the current state of affairs where we're all kind of, working from home and a little more sequestered, does that become how you're doing business in general right now? Or are you still going out into the field some?
We still go out on the field some. Small businesses, they still require some hands-on services that are going to have to be done within the offices. Server setups, any kind of networking issues where we can't get into their network and that they have internet connection issues. Then we come on site and take care of those problems. But for problems that can be taken care of remotely, we also can take care of it that way. Our retail store is open currently. We just take in about one to two customers allowed in the store at a time.
At a time, sure.
We're still being able to offer our services.
Nice. So people, if you really need to come in and see, so here's a good example, and I've done this. You haven't talked about this, but I brought in my computer because I had the screen of death. I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
So I brought it in and dropped it off to see if you could save it. So tell us about that service you offer.
Well, basically all of our services, when coming into the store, they are free to diagnose the problem with the computer.
Nice.
So we don't charge anything to look at it. Once we determine what the problem is, we usually give the client a call, let them know what we found, and give them some options, whether or not they want to either fix the computer or if the cost is too high, we can do data recovery services from a failing hard drive or anything. We can pull that data off, either fix the computer or transfer it to a new device, and that way they can continue on as they didn't lose anything. Still doesn't beat making sure that you have some kind of a backup solution for your system, but if push comes to shove and you haven't done it and you've been lackluster in setting up those services, then we can 9 times out of 10 we can recover those data files for you without having to lose anything.
Okay, so we can just bring it in and you'll pull off, most of the time, can pull off the necessary stuff. And then, of course, set us up with a new computer, right?
Yes, we can set you up with a new
System?
computer, or if you have one currently, we can set that one up for you, and then transfer your data back over to it.
Okay.
And we usually put everything back in the original spots, so that way,
Sure.
it feels more like your old computer again.
That makes good sense. Those of us who like things
Yes.
consistent appreciate that.
Yeah, people get so used to the way things are, they don't want to change, so we try to
Sure.
make it as easy as possible for them.
Sure. And then what do you do if in those small cases where you can't retrieve the information? What do you
Well,
do?
then it becomes whether or not you really need that data. That
Okay.
now becomes a big issue where we'd have to send it out to a third party vendor who does they do clean room data recovery, forensic type data recovery. If it's a physical hard drive failure, then in a case like that, jobs can get pretty costly. But some businesses, they need their data, so those services are available and can be done. They're just very expensive at times.
Sure.
But again, most of the time, there's always a way to get the data. It's just whether or not that the price point constitutes is it that important?
Right. So a much better approach is to
Back up your data.
back up your data. So
Back up your data.
tell us what kind of solutions
So-
you offer for that.
Well, you can have a standard local solution where you can back up your data to external hard drives. We can install software that would keep it backed up continuously. Say, for instance, you plug it into an external hard drive into your computer. It'll constantly back it up to an external device. at given time intervals. You could also back up to the cloud. I usually recommend Carbonite. Their services are really nice. You can back up your data there. The problem with online services is not really the fact that, it's when you're trying to recover that data back. And if it's something that is of utmost importance, time constraints, things like that, recovering a large amount of files from the internet can take a long time. We had a client that was they had basically been crypto locked, which means their business was being held for ransom, and we had to pull their data back from the cloud, and it was only about 50 to 60 gigs of data, which is not a lot when you consider what's on your computer. But when you consider that you're downloading it from the internet over a connection that is pretty slowed down from their servers, for instance, that time frame, it took about, I think it was 48 hours to recover all the data.
Wow.
And it all goes back in the same spots. I mean, it's just you're going to be down. So it's good to try to have something locally, like if it's a project that you're working on, back it up continuously locally on an external device that you can have in case of emergency. You have quick access to those files, because if you have to download those files from the cloud because you've been backing them up there, then it may take some time to get them down, and you'd have to just prepare for that. But at least you'll have your stuff.
Right. So if you've been using like Carbonite, which backs it up into the cloud, right? So if you've been using that kind of a service, in addition to that, it makes good sense to have a local, external hard drive.
Either a thumb drive, external drive.
Okay.
Yes.
Where you're just throwing things over there to save there
you can't
as well.
have especially things that are of utmost importance that you need quickly. You can recover individual files from Carbonite, but if you're in a circumstance where you're trying to recover all of your data onto a new device, or fixing your old device, then once you put your account into recovery mode, you have to kind of just sit there and wait. And you may come up with some, you might have a project that's due tomorrow, and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't wait for this. So at least you'd have an additional local backup of that device.
Another option.
Whatever your project you're working on. Yeah.
I think I'm getting a headache thinking about it. That's why we pay professionals like you, right? So we don't have to get headaches thinking about it. Before we run out of time, I just want to ask you how you got started doing this. Tell us how you become this person.
I went to school for it, but it's always been a passion of mine, anyways. So even when you're doing something that you enjoy doing, it no longer becomes a job to you, at least. People are paying for my experience and what I've taken over the years and learned to try to, repair and different processes that I've learned to be able to get the jobs done quickly. And it takes a long time, and you have to be constantly watching as new technology comes out, testing new software, testing new operating systems and hardware to see, what's out there, how to do this, how to do that. I can work between Mac OS, Windows, or even Linux operating systems.
Wow.
To be able to manage. We also do some work on server software also. So it takes a while to pull that information in and learn it and retain it. So I just enjoy it. I really do, and I guess that's what makes it easy for me.
Right. So that's why you started your own company, right? Doing something that you love to do. Yeah. Plus, you're also a shaman on the Tech Shaman Show, right?
Yes. We meet up every Monday. We do the Tech Shamans, and we talk about new technology that's coming out, whether or not it's either technology, stuff that's coming out in video and video editing software, hardware, also software as in websites, different kind of projects that happen on the web, even software applications that are also run from the web too.
So it's
So we talk about a whole mirage of fun stuff,
a whole bunch of techie stuff, right? So that's
techie, geeky stuff that, not
techie
everybody gets,
geeky
but
stuff.
still fun.
That's right. Well, and that's just a great way for you, considering the industry you're in, to keep your finger on the pulse, right, of what's happening.
Yes, exactly.
Especially right
Exactly.
now, well, it's probably always changing rapidly in your industry, but right now it feels like things are really crazy out of control changing, right? Do
Yes,
you feel
yes.
like that?
Like right now, yeah, right now there's been like a massive shift in everybody working from home.
Right.
The kids, doing their school lessons, and then you have software packages that have been out there that they're either faltering because they cannot handle the huge influx of people, or once there was a large influx of people, security holes and vulnerabilities have been found. So,
Scary.
just to give you an idea, Florida Virtual School used to use Blackboard Collaborate to be able to do a lot of their work and video work inside between the teachers and the students.
Sure.
Halfway through into the second semester, they decided to switch to Zoom, and basically that's all of Florida's virtual school system
Right.
went to it. And now they've said, no, we're not using it right now because of all the security issues and other issues that are being presented at this time. So, that's a massive shift. All the teachers had to get retaught all that, and students, and it's like so many parents are frustrated, teachers are frustrated. So stressful.
Gosh, so is your phone ringing off the hook right now?
Yeah, we've been getting a lot of calls and trying to help as much as
As
we
you
can
can.
with parents at home trying to deal with their students and
Sure,
stuff.
sure. And are you able to help the small business owner, someone like myself who is trying to go virtual and doesn't have, I use Zoom personally, but if you're a small business owner and you don't know how to use any of that stuff, can you help them set them up, get them the right, cameras, the right
Oh
microphones,
yes,
whatever. You can
yes,
help get them on the right track.
we can help them get them on the right track and how to utilize those services and how to even put most of their business, at least online or virtual, or how to get into a lot of their office computers remotely. If they need to get those kind of services set up, we can take care of all that.
Gosh, that would be really nice to be sitting at home thinking, "Oh, I need such and such," and it's on the computer at the office. Is a horrible panicky
Yeah.
feeling. Okay, so we're just about out of time, but really quickly tell us how we can get a hold of you when we desperately need you.
You can go to our website, ams-computers.com. We have a message board. You can contact us there,
Okay.
or 727-645-6956 is our main office number. You can
Okay.
contact us there also.
Perfect. Okay.
And also on the email, you can email me at adam@ams-computers.com.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate you being on the show, and we
Thank
will
you.
see you again soon at WPBA, I'm sure. Nick Dalbani. Nick Dalbani is the president of SolArmy. Are you with me, gentlemen?
Yes, we're
Hi,
here.
Claire.
Well, welcome. Thank you so much for taking some time to be on the Tampa Bay Business Connection show today.
Of course. Thank you for having
Thanks
us.
for having us.
It is my pleasure. I absolutely have some questions. I'm super interested in solar myself, so I'm anxious to see what you have to say. But first, I want to start with Nick and say, besides thanks for being here, tell me how you got started with SolArmy.
So I'm very passionate about renewable energies and energy efficiency. Personally, I've grown up around it my whole life. My father started a company in 1982 where he was all about bringing in energy efficiency into the States and into different areas, such as the Middle East and Southeast Asia. We operated in all those places. And so he continued to bring in product from solar panels to recently LED lighting to anything that has to do with home appliance for energy efficiency. And throughout the years, we've continued to bring in different product lines and equipment for whatever it is that we were working in, diving into newer things as time went by. But I focused a lot on that area, and renewable energy was my focus. So I continued to build out anything that I could to help promote sustainable living and to help people switch off of the grid and to move from fossil fuel consumption to something that will be able to sustain us for the long run. So I'm very passionate about that, and I continue to promote that. And I will always be pushing for people to go renewable, to reduce their consumption. Personally, myself, I'm somebody who doesn't like to overconsume, and I care about how I treat the environment, how I treat other people, thinking about future generations, things like that. So in terms of why I'm doing what I'm doing today, I feel very compelled to do it because, I have to step up and do something about the current situation with climate change and what's happening. If I don't, then I'm expecting others to do so. How is that going to happen? So
Right.
we all need to take our collective decision to make things better for future generations. And it all starts with everybody themselves. So I'm glad to hear that you're interested in solar and, moving to a sustainable lifestyle. So that makes me happy to hear.
Well, I'm super. This is less the sustainable and more how do I keep my pool hot, right? And I hear you can do that with solar, but I do care about the
Yeah.
environment as well. But I love your
Yeah.
passion
Mhm.
for sustainable living, and
Mhm.
I admire that greatly that you're so
Mhm.
focused on that. And of course, it makes perfect sense. Then you do this, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about the history then of SolArmy. How did you start it? Did your parents start it? Tell me how that
So I
happened.
started SolArmy.
Okay.
We were operating under different names for the past, I would say, 12 years. We rebranded a few times, but eventually we landed on SolArmy because that's exactly what we are right now, an army. We're trying to push the solar power in the United States as much as we can. And so our focus as a collective group is to continue to speak to legislators, speak to different communities, try to push, solar power as much as possible in the United States. And through, the years, we've grown to be large numbers. A lot of people have joined our clientele. A lot of people have joined our referral program. A lot of people have been interested after we, help them go solar. They're like, we want to become energy consultants because, this process has just been amazing. And I would love to be spreading this to people and feeling good about doing what I'm doing. And I believe Jack can kind of shed some light on that since he was a client with us and is a client with us, and he can kind of explain the process of what happened and why he was like, I just got to start with you guys. I need to do something. And with our COVID-19 relief program that we're doing right now, trying to give back to everybody who's suffering and, promoting everything that we can. He's fell in love with the process, and that's why I believe he's a good candidate to speak about that.
Okay. Well, then let's hop over to Jack and can you tell us a bit about the COVID-19 relief program and incentives?
Yes, so that's actually why and how I landed with SolArmy as a customer. We bought our home 3 years ago, my wife and I did, and we have been trying ever since to go solar for many of the same reasons that Nick spoke about. One thing I have always said repeatedly, and I'm sure you have heard elsewhere, is we don't inherit the planet from our parents. We borrow it from our children. So I have always been about wanting to leave the planet a better place than I found it for my kids and their kids and so on and so forth. So we've been trying for about 3 years to go solar. We've been through several different companies and have had a variety of issues with inability to get financing or can't get straight answers from sales guys or, what have you. Completely accidentally ran across Nick on Instagram and saw him advertising the COVID-19 relief program with SolArmy just as all this was happening. And they were offering $1,000 of cash assistance and 3 months of utility bills paid. And that is upfront and immediate. So Nick and I started talking in Instagram Messenger, went through the process with them with signing the retainer agreement, getting the initial information about a proposed system design, and then finally signing the sales agreement. And within 9 days of the day that Nick and I started talking, I had $1,000 in my bank account. And as of yesterday, I have next month's electric bill paid. And I still don't have a solar system on my house, which means Nick hasn't actually seen a dime yet at his company. They are putting a lot into this to try to help people out with both making the transition to solar and getting some real immediate relief right now to help through these months.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah,
How long?
we are trying.
That's wonderful. I think you guys are making a real difference. I can see your hearts in this for sure. So the disaster relief program is actually paying for those things, paying for that money in the account, and paying for those things that are happening up front.
So the way that we operate right now is we're working with different government-approved programs to help take care of the upfront cost of all of the switch from what you're doing right now to renewable energies or energy efficiency systems. So it really depends on the area, depends on the client, what is available to them at that point. So we work with everybody that we can, and we consult them on what the best direction for them to go is, and find them the best deals through our partner network, where we have a lot of different contractors that work with us to whether it's from the roofing to the solar to energy efficiency, HVAC systems to lighting. We put a program together where we can deal with any of that to reduce your consumption, and then for you to go solar. So that we can get you the best deals. We take care of the process from A to Z. Jack has not had a conversation with anybody other than me and some people on the team here whenever it's necessary, and we're taking care of the entire thing. So we're a full service consultation company that takes care of the entire process for you. And you don't, from the financing as well, from permitting, engineering of the system, design, all of that. So we're very involved in the process, and we want to give you guys peace of mind and the fact that we are capable to handle the entire process for you because of what we've been through, because of our experience in the market, because of our ability to buy in bulk. We can translate better costs and through economies of scale, give that to our clients compared to what others would, And so as a client, a lot of our clients, they do pay off their systems much faster and they're able to save a lot more because of that.
So it sounds like you're doing more than just the solar piece, though, that there's other energy things in there as well. So
we consult our clients on all of that.
On all of those pieces. And then
everything to do with renewable energy and energy efficiency.
Okay. And then point them in the right direction, or actually you handle all of the...
We handle all of that.
The stuff. So all they have to do is to call you.
We handle everything.
Kind of a concierge service.
Exactly.
Okay. I see on my list here that there's some ITC tax credits. Is that a part of what we're already talking about, or is that something else?
So the ITC is something being provided by the federal government. And what that means is they're giving you back this year 26%. So 2020, they're giving you back 26% of what the system cost is, or what the total cost is. So if that were to say $10,000, then they would give you back 26% of that, which is $2,600 as a tax credit. So what that means is anybody who has a tax liability is capable of taking advantage of this tax credit. So whether you owe or have paid taxes, they'll either refund you or basically credit whatever it is that you're going to be paying or you need to pay towards your taxes. And so that ends up paying for part of the system up to 26% this year. Last year was 30%. And it's going to continue to go down, which is why we are trying to push this as quickly as we can. Through the years, it will go down to zero eventually in 2022. So we are trying to get everybody to switch to solar energy before that happens. And that's why we are as aggressive as we are in helping our environment and helping the communities and putting out the word and doing as many PR campaigns as we can, because eventually people will lose out on this. And we, as a client, it doesn't make sense for you or just anybody who has a home to not be taking advantage of what the government is offering. It's there for a reason. It's there for us to help us be sustainable. And so we want to inform as many clients and educate them about this as possible.
Absolutely. Wow. My head is spinning about what I need to do next.
Yeah.
I'm sure everyone's feeling the same way. So we're almost out of time, but I want to just quickly jump into how does the process work so that, because I know people are thinking, how does this work? Because I'm thinking that. So Jack, you want to take that, or Nick, who wants to take that?
So yeah, from my perspective as a consumer, it was as easy as Nick described. So he and I had about a 10-minute conversation where he got some information that he needed from me about my average power consumption over the last 12 months and the size of our home and the layout of our home and the location of our lot and stuff. About a day later, he came back to me. We had about a half an hour conversation with the proposal. I walked through the entire thing, the pros, the cons, the projected electricity costs, the projected system life, the tax credits, all the different options that are out there. And what I got with Nick and with everybody else I've dealt with at SolArmy is not a slick sales presentation. It's been exactly what you've seen here. He's been very open, genuine, down to earth, easy to talk to and deal with. And we went through that. They sent me out the information for the financing application. So I did that all online, all DocuSigned. They had a few things they needed from my house for the roof structure. They sent me a list to take a few pictures of these things for us so we don't have to send anybody to your house. So did that, all submitted them online, signed the sales agreement, and now we're just working through the required, utility approvals and permitting approvals and stuff to actually get it done. And they've done it all from A to Z.
So he didn't even have to come out to you.
Nope.
Exactly.
Everything
So,
has been 100% virtual.
with the whole, I don't want to call it lockdown, but social distancing and people safe at home and all of that, now is a great time because it can all be done virtually.
Yep.
Exactly.
Right.
And we've actually seen an upsurge in our, in our business and in people asking about going solar, even through this time, because it is a good thing to do to reduce your bills right now. Everybody's trying to reduce their bills.
Sure.
And with the fact that our COVID-19 program, we're paying 3 months of your electric bill with $1,000 cash payment.
Can't really argue with that. So we are running out of time quickly. And so I want to just thank you for being here. We appreciate your time. And welcome back to Tampa Bay Business Connections. Our next guest today here is Tammy White with Tammy White Galleries. Are you with us, Tammy?
I'm here.
There you are. Welcome. Thank you so much for taking some time to join us today.
You're welcome.
So I'm excited to learn all about Tammy White Galleries. Tell me what you do, Tammy.
Okay, we started Tammy White Galleries 26 years ago here in West Pasco, Newport Richey. Actually, our anniversary was in February.
Wow.
We do custom framing and represent local artists. We specialize in conservation and preservation framing. I don't know what else to tell you.
Wow.
That's what we do.
That's what you do. Well, so tell me how working with a small custom framer like yourself is different than going to a big box store.
The difference is huge. Number one, you know who you're working with. Typically, you either work with one or two people in the shop. So you know who's handling your items, especially if you're having precious memorabilia framed or expensive artwork. You really kind of want to know who is doing your work. Typically, the big box stores, they train their employees through their own training programs. I'm actually certified through the International Association, Professional Picture Framers Association. I've been certified since, I don't know if I want to say how long or when.
A while.
Since 1988 or 89. So I have a lot of experience. Typically coming to a smaller shop, You have people that have a lot more experience. There's a lot of materials in our industry that, if not used properly when framing certain items, can end up damaging them. So you really need to have someone who knows what they're doing.
So you're talking about the actual training of the person who's going to put together your mat and your frame and your artwork or whatever, right? You're talking about that person in the store may not necessarily have more than just, cursory training on doing this, right?
Right. That, and typically they don't do all the work in-house.
Oh, okay.
A lot of them just do assembly in-house, where we, here at my shop, we do everything in-house. Nothing is sent out except for the only thing that we do send out is if we do paper restoration jobs. We haven't got that far into that yet, but everything else we do right here on the premises.
So what kinds of things does that include?
That includes putting the frames, joining the frames, cutting the mats, design, assembly, any kind of specialty jobs that we do. Currently, we're doing a lot of shadow boxes this past year, and that's something that was interesting talking with other framers a few months ago. Is a lot of us are doing a lot more shadow boxes this year, and they can be pretty tricky. So you have to have somebody that really knows what they're doing.
So the shadow box, that's where you put the items that are not artwork, right? So the trinkets and the memorabilia that you want to save and preserve.
Yeah, it can be just about anything. I mean, a couple of years ago, I framed, it was a railroad theme, and actually put inside the shadow box actual railroad stakes, the big iron stakes that they pound into the ground. Yeah. It was pretty amazing. It turned out awesome.
So pretty much anything that somebody can conceive of, for a gift or a remembrance of some sort, you can make a shadow box out of.
Yeah, pretty much. I always say I can frame pretty much anything except for people.
You frame anything but people. Well, you could frame people, right?
Probably could.
You probably could. I don't know if there's any money in that, but maybe.
Yeah. We actually too fabricate plexiglass boxes, because sometimes you don't want just a frame, around it. You need more clarity, clearance around. We've done plexi boxes that have model ships in them that hang on the wall, and you can actually open the doors.
Wow.
If you recall, a few years ago, I broke my leg.
Yes.
I haven't done it yet. I'm working on this project, and people think I'm crazy. I'm actually going to put that cast in a plexiglass box.
Just to remember the event.
Decorated it.
Oh, that's sweet. So you're saving the memory. Not the memory of the break, because
It's not the memory of the break,
right, but the memory of the event surrounding the break.
Correct. Yeah, and that's that's something that people can do right now with the situation that we're in. Mm-hmm. People have time to collect things around the house, and we can put them in a shadow box. And even if you're a lot of people are doing puzzles these days, trying to take up some time. And we can frame those too. And it can be kind of like a fun way to remember this kind of odd time in our society right now.
One that we hope we never have to repeat.
Right, exactly. Exactly.
That's a cool idea. So how are you working with people in this virtual time where we're all, kind of hunkered down at home? How are you able to work with people?
Well, it really hasn't changed too much for me, because about around 2008, I decided to work by appointment only. It was when my husband had been diagnosed with cancer, and so I needed to really control my time, and so we decided to do by appointment only. And when we got through that, I just decided to keep it that way. We are on in a small building, and it's only me. And people, they have choices. And again, we started doing this years ago. If you don't feel comfortable coming out, I can pick up and deliver. You can drop off the piece, and I can pick out 3 or 4 designs, and we can either Zoom, or I can text you the images and you can make the choices. If you want to come and hang out, we've got room we can distance, and you don't have to touch the frames or the mats. And I wash everything down after everybody leaves. I have little hand sanitizer wipes here. So for me, it's not that much different. And I'm kind of hoping that the outside world kind of sees the local small frame shops as a safer place to go when they want projects done like this, because we are smaller. You don't have to worry about 100 people in the store, or who's doing what, or who's touching their work, or how it's coming back. When you come here, it's me, and my name goes on the back of everything that comes out of here. So I make sure that it's done right.
That it's done right. Right. Nice. So I'm sure you get this question, so don't shoot me for asking this, but I get these coupons from big box stores that say 50% off or 75% off. And I think, holy smokes, that must be like crazy cheap, right? So how are you compared to their big old 60% off sales?
Well,
is there a huge price difference?
How I say this nicely.
You don't have to be tactful.
If you were a business and you consistently were offering things from 60 to 70% off, and the prices were realistic, how long do you think you could really stay in business?
Right. Good point.
I can't. Their 50 and 60, 70% off prices are actually, in most cases, because I have some really great clients, and throughout the years, they've gone to these other places and brought back estimates, and I could look over their estimate, and typically my regular prices with much higher quality materials are less than their 60 and 70% off prices.
I suspected as much.
I couldn't offer 60 and 70% off. I would be in the hole all the time.
Right.
So
talk just a minute about the higher quality pieces. You're talking about higher quality things that you're using to do this. Talk about the quality issue.
Okay, well, we started, and this started years ago. There's, like with the matting that we use, or the backing, there's different types. One is, we call it like a paper mat, which everybody thinks all mats are paper mat, which they are, but paper mats are very acidic. Oh. And if you've ever seen something that had been framed with a piece of cardboard behind it, and you see the lines have transferred, that's acid burn. And the paper mats will do that. Well, many, many years ago, because of one client, I decided I was not going to ever offer paper mats again, because I had to frame a few pieces that were limited editions for him using the lesser quality materials. I made him sign 4 releases. He was a lawyer.
Yes, good plan.
The day I came in to frame the pieces, I took all my paper mats and threw them in the garbage. So all the mat boards that we offer in our backing is all acid-free. It's made with cotton fibers. It won't damage your artwork. We use conservation glass, which probably 95% of the time, which blocks out the ultraviolet light. And particularly with photographs and some print media, tends to fade. And it can happen just in fluorescent lighting. It doesn't have to have direct light, and it can fade. So we use the highest quality ultraviolet protection glass that we can use, and plexiglass. We don't use frames that are plastic. There's a they make really great looking moldings that look like they're wood, but it's made out of a plastic
Like a composite
extrusion. And those plastic extruded moldings outgas chemicals, and we don't use those. We use wood and aluminum frames only.
Oh, so does gases actually damage things, or it's just bad for us?
Well, when they tell us when we join it, we have to use a special kind of glue, and we're supposed to use those big
Oh,
things to
Right.
breathe through.
yeah.
We're not supposed to inhale it. Yeah, respirators. Yeah, yeah. It's not good.
Wow.
It's kind of like, remember back in when they were having the flooring issue coming from China, and they were
right.
having the same thing. That molding was outgassing toxins into your enclosed environment.
Wow. See, stuff that you don't know as a consumer, you absolutely just don't know these things. So,
Right.
yeah, big difference. So there's the biggest difference, right, between you and the box store. So we're out of time, but I just wanted to say thank you so much for taking some time to come on the show. Tell us about Tammy White Galleries. Let us learn a little bit more about you and why you're different and why we should absolutely be using someone like you for all of our framing or memorabilia needs. And I sure appreciate your time.
I appreciate you guys having me on. Thanks.
You bet. We'll see you next time. Okay, guys, that's it for today. Thank you so much for showing up once again for Tampa Bay Business Connections, where we are bringing awareness to your organization and added value to your membership. We'll see you next week.